Hello students, this is Kalyan from Parivartan IAS. So I want to discuss few things in this short video. The first one is mindset for prelims and for the next 30 days, and the next one is reality check. Just imagine you woke up at 4 a.m. in the early morning in a very cold winter morning, right? And you have to shower in that cold water. So you know it's going to be very difficult, but until that first flow of water falls on you, okay, whatever you can imagine is not nowhere close to the reality. In the same way, prelims exam writing in the prelims exam hall is a whole different field. No matter how many mocks you practice, how much mindset you make up, still it doesn't actually match with the real exam experience. I'm not romanticizing or hyping the exam. What I'm trying to tell you is there is no other exam like the real exam because of sheer pressure. The pressure and tension or stress you go through in those 2 hours is unparalleled. So you need to make up your mind from now onwards so that you won't face the shock in the exam hall, right? So before going to the discussion, I want to tell you, please remember, you may not you know watch the entire video, but there are certain points where I have made sure that I have brought in all my experience to try and tell you why you need to have the right attitude or the right mindset. So if time permits, do watch this video in its entirety. The first and most important thing is, uh, there is a problem. After 2 or 3 attempts also, students are not able to clear prelims. I have known students for 4 or 5 attempts also they couldn't clear prelims. So if you are someone who is regularly clearing prelims, you have reached in interview stage or wrote mains once or twice, please close this video, go read whatever you are doing. But if you are someone who has never cleared prelims, I encourage you to watch this. Those who have cleared twice, please close this video. This is not for you, right? Now, prelims is a mind game. Why it's a mind game? Because no matter how much we read the arrangement of the questions, the simple words they use, the logics they use are one part of the story. The other part of the story is on what frame of mind are you going into the exam hall. I know the best and brilliant students couldn't sleep before prelims, and that affected their performance. Okay, just 1 week before prelims, they go into such a meltdown. So it's a mind game. 1 week, 15 days, 10 days before the exam starts, right? It's not on the 2 hours itself. So it's a mind game that is happening 30 days right before the exam. So you have to master all those things. Unless you understand this is a stress test of your mind as well as your knowledge, you are not going to clear only on knowledge alone. What is the point when develop a fever or cannot sleep, right? So you won't be performing to the optimum. Next, the first important thing is, especially in the first attempters, you develop a mob mentality. You joined a coaching institute, you joined a test series, okay, and or you have a senior who is just casually suggesting you. Your entire mind is fixed at prelims. Prelims is Himalayas for you. Prelims is everything. I want to clear prelims. You are not thinking about mains. You are not thinking about service. You are not thinking about anything. Your entire obsession is with prelims, and that is narrowing your vision. And because of this mob mentality, you will write a mock because everybody is writing a mock. You will join a test series, you will join a current affairs course, you will read a particular magazine because everybody is doing so. You are reading Hindu because everybody is doing so, but you are not thinking why you are doing all these things. So don't fall into the mob mentality. Always question everything, right? Why should I write this particular test series? Is this really helpful for me, right? Let's say 5 people are reading DD Basu. Okay, you just don't follow them. You take up Lakshmikant. You are already reading Lakshmikant. Okay, why Lakshmikant? Because it makes your life easy. Is it working for you? Yes or no? Somebody will have a wonderful memory. First time they read a lot of things, then they keep writing the test series. They will understand the magic of test series and they will move on. But you have a friend who doesn't understand anything about why he is writing test series. Don't slow down for him. You keep moving in your own pace because this is a competitive exam. You don't have time for emotions, slow down, group discussions and parks and all these things. This is not the time for all such things. Okay, friendship is friendship. Your speed is your speed. Don't sacrifice it for anyone or anything. Next, whatever I am going to tell you is very unpleasant to listen to sometimes. Okay, so just have an open mind. You may not agree with me in its entirety, but at least give me the chance to convince you why you need to have why you need to master your mindset. Okay. The first and most important point you need to remember is attempt is golden. Attempt can be valued in gold, cages of gold. So don't throw it away. Attempt is getting into service. Attempt is not clearing prelims. You are here, right? So please don't think prelims is everything. Prelims, mains, and personality test. So you have to reach there, and you end into the service. So don't throw away your attempts if you haven't even read Lakshmikant, right? Don't throw away your attempts if you don't know abcd of your optional. Think about all these things. Attempt is getting into service. Somebody will say, sir, I want to just have the experience of upsc. Okay, write a mock or prepare and write upsc, but just don't go to exam hall for the sake of going to the exam hall, right? Next, even if you fail, you have to fail in the right direction. This applies to the students who have given their 90% or those who have taken coaching in the last 7 or 8 months but want to give prelims for the first time. So give your 110%. Why? As you don't fall into the trap like I will prepare well for the next time and I will start writing. That will never happen. So if the cutoff is 100, if you are getting 95, even if you fail next year, you will know with this much amount of preparation, if you reach 95, there is a good chance that if you rectify all your mistakes, you will cross cutoff, right? So give your 110% all the time. So even if you fail, you have to fail in the right direction. That's the most important thing. Next point, you have to clear in a momentum. See, this exam is all about momentum. No matter what you did for last 1.5 years, nobody cares about it. You know how many sacrifices you have made, how many hours you have read, and all those things. But if you don't peak in your performance in the last 30 days, okay, this is the last 30 days, this is the prelims day, you have to reach this threshold. Okay, this magical point has to be achieved, and that is momentum. Whatever you have done in the last 1.5 years, 1.5 years have to be consolidated in these last 30 days. You have to revise your static, you have to revise all your full length tests, you have to revise the mocks you have written. Unless you are not consolidating, your performance is not going to peak, right? So this is the golden time in your preparation. So avoid everything like anything, right? I don't know what it means, but actually in reality, avoid everything, but for 30 days don't do anything. Don't go for any distractions. Don't allow anyone to distract you. Please remember, you have to clear in momentum. Momentum cannot be built like this, right? Day 1, 2, 3, 4, I will rise, I will fall, I will rise, I will fall. No, momentum has to be like continuous. Only then the effect will be maximized. And if you look at this chart, you can understand prelims preparation 2021 CSAT is there, but within GS the most important part is current affairs, which is nothing but actually science and tech, economy, environment and biodiversity, some part of polity. The rest is static, geography static, map pointing is again current affairs. So you have to batch everything, and you need to have at least one book for each subject. Then write minimum 3 subject wise mocks, then at least 10 to 12 full length tests. This should be your strategy. If you have already done the subject wise test, whatever you have done till now, you keep revising them. Apart from this, you start solving full length tests. Now, a simple question. Before going all these things, there are two kinds of aspirants. One who actually are understanding this entire video, the other ones who are still in some kind of confusion. I will ask you simple question. Is MSP legally backed? Is fair remunerative price legally backed? What is fair remunerative price? How is it related to minimum support price? For which crop? So what is A2 plus FL plus C2? What is the formula used for? What is each and every technical term related to? Okay, what is the role of CSEP in relation to MSP? Yes. Then how many crops are there in Rabi? How many crops are there in Kharif list when government announces MSP? How many crops are produced both in Kharif and Rabi season? If all the answers to these kind of questions are on your fingertips, then your static knowledge is very very good. But if you don't remember all the Kharif crops and Rabi crops, you are definitely not preparing properly. My intention here is, this is nothing but agricultural topics list from previous UPSC papers. I haven't made this stuff up. If you go and check all the previous UPSC question papers in relation to agriculture, these are the topics that have been repeatedly asked by UPSC. So if you don't know minimum support price and its technical details, even today 30 days before exam, you are not preparing properly because you are not focusing on the previous year questions. Previous year questions are not questions alone, they are topics. So you have to master those topics. So questions will be at least in and around these kind of topics. So you have to master them. Yes. Oil seeds. Recently Prime Minister Modi announced something in relation to oil seeds, palm oil seeds, right? So what is the trend in relation to import of oil seeds? So this kind of preparation will actually give you a good amount of clarity on what topics to focus, what topics not to focus. Let's say if you are a senior, globally important agricultural heritage system. How many of you can tell all the global GIHAs in the country? Are they 3 or 4 or 5? What are they? Where are they? Why are they important? So this is static preparation, right? For example, if you know why groundwater conservation is important, or what are the schemes that are related to groundwater conservation in recent times that are in the news, that's a very important topic. So that means most aspirants don't focus on the previous UPSC topics, and they just keep thinking that, you know, I'm reading for 14 hours a day, 12 hours a day, I'm reading 10 hours a day. You will never improve your scores because these are called core areas. Instead of working on the core areas, you are just randomly reading a lot of stuff. So take previous year question papers book, write down the topics, see whether they are in the news this year, yes or no. If they are in the news, what are the topics that are in the news? And these are all evergreen topics. MSP, fair remunerative price, you know, farmers bill is in the news very much. So if you don't go to the exam hall without reading the basic stuff, it's going to hurt you, right? Yes. So my intention here is purely to tell you, don't try to do too many things in the last 30 days. Make sure you are covering all the bases in relation to previous year questions that are most important topics, right? Solve subject wise tests. If you have already solved them, revise them. Write full length tests, learn from them, then revise your static books again. So that should be your basic criteria. Current affairs are covered both in subject wise tests and full length tests. Now the one thing I cannot remove from your mind, or a fresher's mind, or a student's mind, is fear of missing out. Sir, there are 75 pages in a current affairs magazine, there are thousands of lines. How many lines are actually important? Not every line is important, not every topic is important, not every box within the topics are important. FOMO, fear of missing out. So you read 14-15 hours a day, but because of this fear, you are reading a lot of unnecessary stuff rather than focusing on the important stuff like the previous area topics, right? See, this is just example for agriculture. You can take for science and tech, you can take for economy, you can take for geography. If you list out all the important topics, I am sure you can have an issue with most of the topics if you are not prepared well. Okay, if you are rock solid in your static, I'm very happy for you, your preparation is very good. But if you are ignoring all these kind of important topics in the name of chasing too many topics, okay, then you are doing disservice. So what should you do? You should focus on the Pareto principle, that is 20% of your efforts will get you 80% of the scores. If you are reading polity but you are giving equal time to, let's say, uh, uh, peer groups chapter or some remote chapters, right? Election reforms at this particular point rather than fundamental rights, okay, then you are not reading polity properly. There is no need to read all those things if you are not reading fundamental rights and DPSP. If you are going to exam hall without reading fundamental rights and DPSP, then there is no point reading the rest of the chapters for Indian polity. The same applies to almost all subjects. Every subject have core areas. For example, economy. If you are going to the exam hall without reading banking, taxation, or exports and imports and all those trends, then you are actually not going to the exam hall for scoring good score in economy. You are missing a lot. So it's proved that 20% of your scores will actually get you 80% of the marks. So you have to cover everything, but your base should be strong first. Without this, then there is no need for value addition. If you haven't covered this but you are chasing current affairs materials, there is no point, right? So please understand this very importantly. Next, reading the accurate resources. See, uh, XYZ can be a material, it can be a institute, it can be a notes or anything. It might be good 2 or 3 years ago. That does not mean it's still very good. Okay, the marks that were very good 2 to 3 years may not be good this year. So try to find out why others are moving towards a different institute or a different material or a different mark. Don't just follow blindly. Use your common sense. You don't have to read the entire book to understand the difference, right? Take a different mock, a institute of test from a different institute or a material from a different institute. Just go through that, understand whether it's really important for you, I mean whether it is really helping for you or not. Just because someone told you, don't follow it blindly. Yes, so we have the same friends, same books, the same mindset. That is why probably result is never changing. Okay, don't throw away your friends, but what I'm trying to tell you is just break the loop. If you are in a defeatist mindset, your friend is also in a defeatist mindset, there is no positivity between you two, right? So probably you need a change. You need a change in the test series, you need a change in the mentor, you need a change in the understanding, you need a change in the ecosystem you are in. So if you are creating into a bubble, right, if you are living in a bubble itself, then probably that negative bubble will never help you. You need to understand why we need to grow. You always have to grow, right? Now, static is everything. So static means 8 subjects or 9 subjects, how you define, like art and culture separately, art and culture, ancient, medieval, like that. So 8 or 9 subject max. Each and every subject will have one book. Okay, in general understanding, this is static. So 65% of the paper will come from static areas. Even if it might be in the news, it's a current event, but still it's a static thing. Let's say something related to Jammu and Kashmir, a bill passed or something. So but again, that is still static. Polity. So like this, known knowns, that means known areas. The most obvious static books, for example, for environment and biodiversity, if you read PMF IAS or Shankar IAS or anything, you are still doing the static book, right? If a question comes from your Shankar IAS material, okay, if you are getting it wrong, then the problem is with you. Okay, let's say you are reading Vision IAS material for current affairs. If you are focusing on, let's say, 10-15 topics per month, okay, 15 topics per month will be purely prelimsly for dedicated for prelims. Like that, for 10 months you will have 150 topics. Okay, most expected, most obvious, or most general, like blue flags, tiger related conservation, or snow leopard, or something like that. So if 150 topics are there which are very much expected in the news, and if a question comes from either static book or these 150 topics, and if you are getting it wrong, then the fault lies with you. Okay, the fault is with you. What I'm trying to tell you is known knowns. You know that a question might come from Swamitva scheme, you know a question might come from fundamental rights. So it's up to you to make sure that if a question comes from this area, you are not getting it wrong. So your static and expected current affairs should be rock solid. Only when they are rock solid sorry, only when they are rock solid, they can help you, right? Then known unknowns. So let's say you have read all the static books plus 150 current affairs. Still a new question, I mean still a question came from an unexpected dimension or from a non-traditional source. But one point among, let's say, 1 2 3 points. Okay, point number 2 came from known knowns. This is unknown, this is unknown. Okay, totally fine. But most of the times UPSC will give or set the question paper in such a option that if you know 2, okay, you can eliminate the answer. The thing is, it doesn't matter whether you know point number 1 or 3, he is testing you. Even when he confuses you with the unknowns, are you sticking to the basics? That is your known knowns. So point number 2, it may not be directly, or you may not remember it 100%. Let's say there are 15 names or 20 names in a list. You may not remember all the 20 names, but somehow you know, I have read this, I have seen this point number 2 somewhere. Because you have seen this point number 2 somewhere, this point helps you to eliminate the 1 and 3. Okay, so known unknowns, that is what we call as, guessability, art of stone throwing, intuition, hunch, random luck. But the truth is, that is your hard work. You have read somewhere, you have discussed it with someone, or you have seen some YouTube video, or you have done something. Only because you have done all this hard work, out of the 1 2 3 points, point number 2 is correct or not correct, and that is more than enough for you to eliminate the rest of the options, that is 1 and 3. Okay, so you can develop your hunch, your scores. Sir, my score is 70 80, it's not increasing, because your known unknowns, you are unable to handle known unknowns because your static is weak. The stronger your static, it can apply to known unknowns. Okay, unknown unknowns means I have read 1000 pages of current affairs material, or 12 months, right? 12 months, 1200 pages. Then I have read all the 8 static books. I have solved 60 or 70 mocks. 1000 pages of current affairs, 8 books, 60 70 marks, thousands of questions of practice, previous year questions. In spite of doing all these things, still when I go to the prelims hall, there is a completely new question. Should I attempt it? Should I not attempt it? Again, the logic is, in the first round, in the first 1 hour of your exam, if you are attempting 40-50 questions, knowing that you are getting them correct, okay, then you go for guessing, 50-50 elimination. Okay, you have attempted 25 more questions. Around 65 to 75 questions you have attempted through this first and second round. Then based on the confidence that you have in the first and second round, in the last round you will decide whether you have to attempt the unknown unknowns, yes or no. Okay, so again the pillar is this known knowns. So whether your static and most obvious current affairs is perfect or not, if it is perfect, how is it helping you in eliminating the 50-50 option questions? And because you have attempted around 80 questions only in these two areas, known knowns and known unknowns, okay, that is when you decide in the exam hall, in the spot of on the spot, in that moment, to attempt unknown unknowns. That means totally random questions, you are just guessing. And when you are in good flow, good momentum, the chances are that you will get these kind of questions correctly also. But if you are directly entering into the questions without attempting the first 80 or 60 questions with confidence, you won't have an iota of confidence to touch even these questions, right? So be very careful. Your entire preparation hangs in the static books you read and the most obvious current affairs you should know. So if you are weak in these two areas, the last 30 days you should rectify these mistakes as much as possible. Next. Now many people write mocks. So how do you clear prelims? The only answer students tell me is, sir, we have to write mocks. Why? Nobody knows. Write mocks and keep revising. But the actual reality, mock is having a whole different purpose. Mocks are having a totally different purpose, especially if you are in 60-70 bracket or less than that. Okay, if you are scoring 150 130 plus, that's totally different. But if you are scoring less than 70s or around 70s consistently, I think what I'm going to tell you makes more sense, or it might surprise you. You should not write a mock for scores. Never ever write a mock for score. This is like a wall of a fortress. Okay, you are standing here. If I throw some arrows, okay, which are like prelims questions, because there are gaps in your knowledge, okay, or in your fortress, okay, this is your GS fortress, GS plus current affairs fortress. A arrow might slip from here and hit you. Okay, so that's a negative mark. Now the more you revise, the less your gaps are, right? So you may not totally eliminate all the gaps. 1 or 2 gaps might still exist, okay, but you are narrowing it down. That means very few points actually escape from you. So UPSC examiner has to be really skillful to shoot an arrow or to make a question which can fit in this particular narrow gap. So the stronger your static part, the more you revise, the better. But how come you know that there are gaps in your preparation before going to the real hall? That is where your mocks will help you. If you write a mock, it will tell you there are gaps here, there are gaps here, you don't know fundamental rights fully, you don't know DPSP, you are confusing between DPSP and fundamental duties. All these things you will come to know before the exam hall, in your room under the fan, when you are very comfortable. Okay, that is when you revise, you rectify that mistake. The more you rectify, the better. But what do students do? They read Lakshmikant once without even knowing what is a previous year question or something like that. They have a lot of gaps. They will write a mock 70 to 80 and they will get into depression, negative mode. So you are not writing a mock to test yourself. Okay, you are writing a mock to identify the gaps. So first of all, how strongly or how well are you revising your previous papers? For example, you have written a mock very recently, you got 70. If you write the same mock again, do you think you will get 150? Take a mock that you have written in the last 10 days, write the same mock, same question paper, tell me if you are getting more than 150 scores. If you are not getting 150, that means you haven't read the explanation properly. Right, you haven't read the explanation properly. Then what is the purpose of writing a mock? Sir, I have written 70 marks, 80 marks. It doesn't matter, write only 30 marks, but out of these 3000 questions, at least you should be very comfortable with 2500 questions if you see the same question again or the same topic again. So here the most important thing is same topic. If you see the same 2500 topics again, you should not go wrong. That is the purpose of mocks, to cover the gaps. If you write the same mark again and if you are still getting 85 or 90, then you haven't actually improved much, right? So how strong is the area? As I have mentioned, how strong have you become in that particular topic? Let's say you have written a mock about economy, you have read about core sectors. Core sectors is a previous year question. Now can you reproduce all the 8 core sector? Which is more important, which is less important? Like this you can apply to all the at least 70 questions. 70 important areas in economy are covered. Do you know the topic again? Right? Then you don't have to read the explanation in then and there only. You can open your standard economy source, whatever it is, and you can read the 8 core sectors. You can do the same for WPI or CPI, wholesale price index or consumer price index. So you don't read from the explanation, you can read it from your static book. You don't have to waste time there, right? Next point is, not all 100 questions are important in your mocks. Okay, there are hardly 30 to 35 questions which are really UPSC worthy in your mock paper. Let's say this is UPSC previous year question paper standard. Okay, the X. Sometimes in mocks the question will be at Y, sometimes it will be in Z. That means sometimes they are too much for UPSC level, they are sometimes too low for UPSC level. So the more closer questions you find, X2, X3, X4, the closer to this X line, the closer the question is to UPSC pattern, the closer the question is to the current affairs, the better is for you to focus on that kind of question. So what I'm trying to tell you is, so if you see a question X, okay, which is previous year question, you should be able to measure whether Y is relevant to UPSC or Z is relevant to UPSC, or X1, X2, X3, X4, which one is relevant to UPSC. Like this in every mock and full length test, only 30 or 35 questions will be really worth your time. You should spend as much time as possible with them and cover those areas. So if you treat all the 100 questions equally, then you are wasting your time on unnecessary areas. Okay, next. So you can also understand it like this: there is a lot of noise in the full length tests, right? Within the lot of full length tests there are 30 important questions. Within the 30 important questions there are 15 important areas. So are you mastering those 15 important areas? Yes or no? Are you revising them? Yes or no? That should be your only criteria for writing the mock. Right. Next, as I told you above, write mocks to find weaknesses. The journey is more rewarding. So what do I mean by that? When you are writing a full length test with the right mindset to identify your gaps, when you are writing in 2 hours, you will go through a lot of things. You will try to connect point A with point B. You will use your intuition. You will recollect. You will think about it. You will think whether this question should be attempted or not, whether this question is UPSC worthy or not, or whether this question is from known knowns or known unknowns. That means did you read it somewhere? Do you have a hunch? Somehow you are feeling that C is not a right option. So where is that hunch coming from? You get to test all these things in the mock test. So you cannot learn it by just solving 10 mocks before exam. So you have to spend a lot of time every day if you write a mock. Okay, which may be disagreed by some people, but if you write every day a mock, the thing is you are learning your guess ability. You are learning how to throw stones, or how to guess, or how to eliminate which question to not attempt ever, never ever, right? The more you practice, the better your guess ability is. Okay, again, no paper is closer to UPSC paper. Everybody can try, but institutes have to set 3500 questions, whereas UPSC has to set 100 questions, that too from 1 year of current affairs plus 8 static subjects. So if you give me 1 year of time and 8 static subjects, I can prepare 100 quality questions. But the institutes are forced to create 35-40 tests, which dilutes the standard of the paper. So no paper is closer to UPSC paper, but UPSC cannot go from new areas. It has to ask from areas which are in the news. So always focus on areas rather than on months and all these things. Okay, again, my intention here is 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Let's say you are an engineering student, you learn a particular maths problem or how to solve a particular logic. You get the logic, right? You go to the exam hall, you more or less get the similar kind of question. The difficulty level may vary, but you will still somehow apply the logic and get the right answer. But in UPSC, what is happening is some questions are very good, some questions are like okayish, some questions are from static, but some questions are really ridiculous. It's the practice which will tell you which kind of questions to be attempted and which question is to be ignored. So here 2 plus 2 is 5, because you are not only knowing what to attempt, you should know what not to attempt, how much to attempt, which is subject to priorities. So all that is mind game, right? Next, so please make sure that you don't waste too much time in the mocks thinking about scores, but to find the weaknesses. That is my only summary. Just understand that logic. If you are writing 40 mocks, okay, you are getting to learn 4000 topics. Even if you remember 3000 areas, okay, out of this, if 60 or 70 came in UPSC, you are done. You are clearing this exam, right? You don't have to worry about it. So instead of worrying about scores, worry about the areas. So start working on areas. And most important thing, fear of failure. People are always scared of failure. See, failure is something that is inevitable, just like gravity, right? It's a 50-50 chance. You will pass or you will fail, yes or no. Very simple exam in the on the prelims hall. But there is a 50% probability of you failing the exam, 50% probability you will pass after putting all the efforts like reading static books, writing full length tests, covering current affairs. So if you don't know a question, probability is majority don't know. You should have this kind of confidence. Then you can reduce the fear of failure, right? But some students will spend only time thinking about failure. What if I fail? What if I fail? By thinking only about failure, you're actually attracting that failure, right? All the time that is wasted, instead of reading the static or writing a full length test or reading a current affairs, you're wasting it to think about failure. And failure, like gravity, is coming closer towards you. You don't do anything, it will come to you. Just sit there, it will come to you. So please don't do this. Failure is a very real scenario in UPSC. Your job is to escape it. Your job should be to escape the failure as much as possible. And what can be done? What should be done is write full length tests. Okay, not for marks, that for finding gaps, finding important current affairs. right? If you write 10 to 15 full length tests, you might see of different institutes combinedly, then you might see the same question being asked in different styles. That means that area is important. You learn that area, you'll know where you are strong in static, where you are weak in static, right? Then you have to write subject wise mocks. If you haven't already written, you can write at least selective mocks, but if you have already written subject wise mocks, you have to revise them. Then you have to revise your standard textbooks. Yes, then your previous year questions one more time. So don't take my word for it. If you feel, just take the 2020 paper now, as of today. After watching this video, why don't you take 2020 paper and start writing that paper again? Let's see how much you score. Your scores must have improved, right? Yes. So if your scores have improved, that will tell you how much good you have become in static. Ignore all the current affairs questions. Okay, just focus only on the static questions. Are you able to get almost all the static questions correctly? Yes or no? Whether you are able to attempt that cotton question, which is NCRT based, correctly or not. If yes, that's fantastic. Even today, if you got that cotton question wrongly, that means you haven't focused on the static part again, right? So please make these minor changes. Don't write mocks for scores and all those things. Identify the gaps, use previous year papers to identify the topics, and then the most important thing is uh, manage your time. Manage your energy, not the time. Students will say, sir, how many hours I have to read? 14 hours, 12 hours, 10 hours. In reality, energy will rise and fall. After a point of time, you won't have the same momentum. So when you are at the peak, where do you want to invest it? Okay, early morning you woke up, you are very fresh, you want to read static, that's fantastic, right? Then let's say 9 to 11 you want to write a test, you can write that. Or you will feel bored after your lunch, you want to write test, then you write the test. Then whatever works for you. If you want to practice CSAT after the lunch to avoid the sleep, practice. Then you have to manage your energy. You should know where your performance is peak, at what time it is peak, what time it is peak, whether it's distracting or not. So in the evening after tea, 6 to 7, you are not feeling like reading, just revise your previous mocks. So you manage your energy according to your strengths, use it for good purposes. If you are low on energy but still you have to, because you have to push yourself, find things which will make you comfortable. After lunch very sleepy, but map pointing, doing map pointing might be very creative, it might be entertaining, so you may lose the sleep. At the same time, you are using it for some productive purposes. So manage your energy according to your needs. And lastly and most importantly, current affairs is not how many months or how many years or how many books. Current affairs is how many topics. Always manage the topics. There are, as I told you, 150 to 250 most important topics. Have you mastered them perfectly? Yes or no? That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how many magazines you have read, or how many monthly magazines you have read, or how many years you have completed. If you haven't covered the important topics, then you are missing a lot. Okay, so again I told, I tried to cover a lot many things, but because this is an online discussion, I couldn't take live questions. But if you have any questions, or you didn't understand anything, or if you have any suggestions or something, please feel free to message me on support@parivartana.as. I will add it in the description. Or you can message me on Kalyan's ZZ on Telegram, right? Hope this helps. All the best for your prelims, and modify your preparation. If you need any help whatsoever with your strategy modification, or just tune your mindset, just feel free to message me. KLYNZ, sorry. Both are available in description. Thank you. All the best.